Hello, everyone, and welcome to Personality. I'm your host, Lauri Rollings, and my guest today is Doreen Cannon. She is a Journeylevel Plumber at Plumbers Local 55 in Cleveland, Ohio. Doreen is the president of the nonprofit Greater Cleveland Council of Tradeswomen, and she's also a past president of Plumbers Local 55. Being the first woman who was elected to that position. She currently serves as the Northeast Region Director for the American Society of Sanitary Engineering, which is ASSE for short. She's also a retired instructor for Plumbers Local 55, where she taught a number of courses, including a harassment course that she developed to ensure that all plumbers in her local could feel safe on their job sites. Doreen, thank you so much for joining us today.
You. It's my honor.
It's my honor. Welcome. So could you just tell us a little bit about how you got into the trades?
Sure. So when my son was born, I left the workforce for a while. I was in retail management and buying for years, working a lot of hours on salary, working 60 hours a week, getting paid for 40. You know what retail is like. Christmases were ruined. Weekends, I had to work all the time. So when I stayed home with my son, I was lucky enough to be able to stay home for a couple of years after he was born. So when I was ready to go back into the workforce, I thought, I'm not going back to that. I want to do something different. I always enjoyed working with my hands. I'm the youngest of three daughters. So I was kind of like my father's little helper, like maybe the son he never had. So I used to putz around with him and fix things, and I always enjoyed that. So at the time when I was planning on getting back, my mom saw an article in the newspaper in Cleveland, trying to get more women into the trades. And that makes me laugh because here's, 30 years later, and I'm still trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I went to a career fair, and I talked to all the different trades. And while I was there, I met an organization called Hard-Headed Women that had a women's pre-apprenticeship program, all-female pre-apprenticeship program. So I got into that. And then I decided plumbing was the route I wanted to go. My dad was a pipe fitter by trade, but he was in the manufacturing part of pipe trade. So he was in the aerospace union.
Got ya.
So he kind of talking to my dad, and he thought plumbing was a really good fit for a female. Cool. So I applied to the apprenticeship program, got in, and that was in 1998 is when I started my apprenticeship.
Wow. And so why did your dad feel that plumbing was a good fit for a female?
I think because of all the different aspects of it. And I think a lot of plumbing takes a lot of finesse, and women are very good at that, multitasking and really kind of, I laugh because, as a plumber, we do the finished product too. So we are actually installing the toilets, installing the sinks, showers, all that. And when I was out in the field, I would always get that job because I was so particular about it. Everything had to be perfect. Everything had to be straight. Whereas the guys have a tendency to just kind of bully things in. And so I think that's probably in my dad's mind. He was probably thinking of that aspect of it. So, yeah.
That's great.
That's kind of how I got in.
Did you encounter any barriers either getting into the trades or succeeding once you were in?
You know what? I think at the time I got in, the new Cleveland's Browns Stadium was just starting in 1998. And so they took on a very large apprenticeship class. And I think they had some quotas. I never ended up on that job, but we had a lot of females. So they took a class of 60 at our local, which is unheard of. We usually take 20 to 25 a year. Okay. So they took a big class. There was quite a few females in it. So as far as getting in, I think I was just at the right place at the right time. Once I got in the field, I think when I look at women in the field, it so depends on what contractor you get with, what job you get on, what journeyman are you teamed up with when you get in. I think that makes all the difference. And I really feel really lucky in the fact that I got teamed up with a couple journeymen that were older. And they really kind of took me under their wing and really helped me a lot. And as years went by and I became very good friends with them, I started to hear some of the interference that they were running for me that I probably never even knew was happening.
Oh, really?
So I think a lot of the one gentleman, Jim, his name was Jim, and his nickname was the Volcano. So he was could be quite explosive on the job. And him and I became really good friends. He was a true mentor to me. And I think he really ran. I think the guys on the job just knew because I was his partner not to mess with me. So I feel lucky in that fact.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And it really speaks to the importance of having not only good mentors, but also good advocates and sponsors, right? Because I hear that over and over again when I talk to anybody in the trades, honestly, that,
Yes.
you know, you need somebody who's going to not only mentor you, but also like look out for you.
Right.
Run interference for you. So, I mean, what kind of things did you hear after the fact that they were handling for you?
Well, here's one story that actually I was in a bathroom, a commercial bathroom, installing the faucets, and it had a little lip on it. So I was sitting underneath it, so he really couldn't see me.
Mm-hmm.
And some guy comes walking in, and he's just talking to me, talking, hey, how you doing? So he knew I was a female.
Mm-hmm.
And he went right over to the urinal and went to the bathroom.
Oh my God.
And I mean, because they were up and running, which is fine.
Sure.
And I didn't see him. All I saw was his legs because I couldn't see anywhere. And then I came out, and at lunchtime, my partner said to me, did I see that guy go in the bathroom when you were in there? And I said, yeah. And I've told him the story. Well, I think he went up and said something to him because he walked over to me later and apologized.
Oh, really?
And so I think, that kind of stuff. And I just think by his reputation that, again, being his partner, I just kind of like, don't mess with me.
That's really great.
I was a little bit older when I got into trades.
Okay.
And I do remember people coming up to me and saying, are you really just an apprentice? How did you, don't they have an age limit when you get in at the time? So, I think that, I got a lot of that on the job. And then you always had a few strange guys on the job that could just, mess with you or something. But I count myself very lucky. And I wish I knew the secret to why some people, and this isn't just about females, it's, I taught apprentices for years, why some individuals can go on a job and they really don't get that bullying and harassment that all apprentices get. And while others really, I don't know, it just seems that they're the ones that end up having this happen to them. I wish I knew the formula or what it was that makes some people seem like somebody who they can do that to and others not.
I do too. I do too, because you're right. Bullying and harassment are a big issue, not only in the trades, honestly, in every workplace, because I experienced a lot of it when I was practicing law. And I wish I knew the answer to that question also, because then it would be a lot easier to prevent.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. And I think also, obviously, how anybody kind of presents himself on the job is going to start to, I was always very kind of standoffish. And that was just, I think, being a woman in the trades, that was kind of how I handled it. I was very standoffish and kind of professional all the time. I didn't do a lot of the joking around till I got later in my career, once I was established. So I think that has something to do with it too. I think you're going to get treated the way you kind of present yourself in some ways. So I think it was a combination of both that made me kind of lucky.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think there's something to what you said earlier about the fact that you were a little bit older when you got in the trades too, because by the time you get to be a little bit older as a woman, you're like, you know what? Don't mess with me.
I agree. I can't imagine myself as 18 or 19 doing that, especially starting out in a career like that. I couldn't imagine. You're right. I never would have been able to probably survive the way I did.
Yeah, I think there's something to that because, I just think back to when I was that age and it's like you've been socialized up to that point to be nice and to apologize when other people do things wrong, even though it's not your fault, right? And they expect you to apologize when they're out of line. Right. And by the time you get to be 50, which is how old I am now, you're like, fuck you.
That's
You're
right.
the one who's in the wrong. So.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because when I talk to tradesmen, a lot of times I say, when you're on the job, just pay attention to how many times you hear a man say, "I'm sorry," whether
Never.
they bump into you when you're walking or something. So we kind of started this thing with the Cleveland tradeswomen up here that I'm always like, nobody said, "Don't say you're sorry."
Yes.
Keep saying you're sorry. Out on
Good
the
for
job
you.
site, there's no sorries unless something really happens. And
Right. Unless you did something
yeah, but just
wrong.
like, bumping in or cutting in front of somebody or trying to move material and somebody's in your way, you are absolutely right. We always have a tendency to say sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me a little bit more about the Greater Cleveland Council of Tradeswomen. What does it do? And, what's it all about?
So it got started in 2014. There was a new executive director for the Cleveland building trades. His name's Dave Wondolowski, and his previous executive secretary was an older gentleman who had been in for years and wouldn't even take a meeting with tradeswomen. So when Dave got in, a lot of us knew him because he was a bricklayer out in the field. So a lot of us had worked with him.
Oh,
so,
cool.
myself and a carpenter went there and we're talking about just tradeswomen and issues and, things like that. And he said to us, he goes, "What do you think about starting a tradeswomen committee under the umbrella of the Cleveland building trades?"
Awesome.
So he really was the driving force behind it. And what that accomplished was because we had the head of the Cleveland building trades starting this, everybody jumped on board. The unions all jumped on board. The business managers all jumped on board. So that was, I think, 2014 is when that started. About not quite a year ago, we are now a nonprofit, and we are now the Greater Cleveland Council of Tradeswomen. And again, that's all to his doing. He was the one that said, "Hey, let's take what's the next step? Let's do it." So that's really how it came about. So it's just a place for tradeswomen to come together, right? Because there's not enough plumbers at Local 55 to have a tradeswomen committee.
Sure.
There's not enough pipe fitters or operating engineers and all the separate locals to form a tradeswomen committee. So by bringing all the women together, we have bigger numbers, so we get better turnouts. You know what it's like? If you want 50 people there, you got to invite 150, right? It's just the way it is. So we do we do socializing every other month. We meet at a local restaurant bar, and whoever comes. Sometimes there's 20 people there. Sometimes there's 5. It just depends. But it's kind of an open, standing every other month so that anybody who's looking to talk to somebody or has some kind of issue, this is a place that they can go. And I like it because there's individuals like me who are retired, and then there's brand new apprentices that come. So it really is, you have somebody there that you can kind of pick their brain about how did they do this or what do I need to do and that. So we do that. And then we've done some volunteer projects, which is always really a lot of fun.
Cool.
And we have a big Christmas party, holiday party. And during that, we do a fundraiser. We usually pick a local women and children's charity, and we either donate money or we collect items for them. And then for the last few years, our biggest event has been Women in Construction Week dinner. This year we had about 85 women there. And it was really nice this year because we also had a lot of male allies that came. A lot of training directors, business managers came. So it was really nice that it's kind of opening up. And I think that's going to really be what kind of keeps bringing us closer together. So we do things like that. So we do fun things, and then we do other things too. So we have a really great board. The board meets once a month, and we kind of decide what do we need to do, what do we need to, what should we try next, any issues, and that's really nice too.
That is great. So yeah, there's a very similar organization here in Wisconsin called Empower. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. Kind of a similar background too, though, they really had a strong advocate and ally in the president of the local Building and Construction Trades Council, which I think is really key. I mean, again, just getting back to the importance of allyship and advocacy by powerful, visible men in the industry, that really helps.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that just gives it the little push that it needs, that everybody else will jump on board and help support it for sure.
And so, by becoming a nonprofit, what has that allowed you to do, that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do?
Well, I think we became a nonprofit in January, so it's not too far into it yet. Right now, nothing, because there's no grants to go after. I mean,
Yeah.
that was our whole idea behind,
Okay.
part of becoming a nonprofit, so we could go after some kind of grant
Got ya.
to do support for tradeswomen in the Cleveland area. So as of right now, that's kind of on hold, as everybody knows. But I just think, I think more, we get more donations because now it's you can equate it to a nonprofit and put it on the taxes, the whole thing. So I think that has helped us. So I think there's more to come. It takes, for anything, it takes so much time to pick up momentum. It really does. So, we're just kind of still growing and seeing where we can go from here.
Great. And so what are some of the tangible or intangible benefits that you've seen tradeswomen get out of participating in some of the council's events?
I think just the camaraderie, and a lot of us, we still have a lot of women who are out on the jobs that don't see a lot of other women yet.
Yeah.
So kind of knowing that somebody's there, knowing that there's a kind of a collective voice together if we, have some kind of issues. So I think it's really just the camaraderie and being able to sit down and talk to somebody. And, if you are having issues, having a kind of a sounding board for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Representation is really important. And you're right. Like, a lot of women in a lot of different areas of the country are often the only female on the job of any trade. And so just having the ability to see other women and call someone like, hey, there isn't a clean restroom on my job site. What do I do about this? Must be really key.
Yeah, and it is, because there's so many different ways to handle an issue, right? So it's kind of nice to hear that maybe somebody 10 years ago handled it like this, or 2 weeks ago somebody handled it like this, and kind of get all those ideas together and say, what is the best way to handle any kind of situation on the job.
That's great.
So I think it's important. And there's something about tradeswomen that when a tradeswoman meets another tradeswoman, there's an instant connection.
Totally.
And it's really kind of nice, because you automatically have so much to talk about, and it's just a connection between two females. So that's really nice too.
That's really great. Yeah. And I mean, I see that between tradespeople just of any gender, right? Like, there's an instant connection there, because there's a sense of family and community that I don't really see in other professions, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, and I think that, the construction industry, or on a actual construction site, is such a different environment that a lot of people who have never been on one or know somebody who's worked on one really doesn't understand the environment of that construction site. So being able to, I think that's what connects us too, because automatically somebody will say, well, I'm on this job, or I'm on this job. Oh yeah, I worked for that contractor before. I worked for this contractor. So that's, I think, part of the immediate connection. You don't have to really explain your job.
Right.
You start talking about it. So
right.
It's much easier.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So you've been a leader not only for women in the trades, but you also were the president of Plumbers Local 55. So can you tell us a little bit about why you ran for president, and then what that whole experience was like?
Yeah, so I've always been somebody who had to get their nose in everything. When my son was in Boy Scouts, I was one of the mom leaders. When my son played softball and baseball, I've just always been like that. And when I got in the union, I really was so thankful for the union and what it had to bring, and the wages that I got, and the training that I got, and the equality that was there, between everybody in the training. So it was really important for me to get involved. So that's kind of how I started. I started out simple. I was the head of the entertainment committee, which nothing but the kids' Christmas party and a picnic every year. And then the first thing I ran for was a trustee on pension, I think, and I did not get elected.
Okay.
And then I ran for executive board. So that was kind of my first time that I ran for an office and won. And I stayed on that for 2 terms. And then I wanted to do something else. And I just decided, well, I was going to go for president.
Cool.
As far as running for a union election, it is stressful.
I'll bet.
And it was harder for a female, I think, because even amongst the males who are running, there's a lot of rumors and
Right.
back talk, and they're going to do this, and I heard they want to do this. And well, for me, it was 10 times worse.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, it was just, I don't know who I was sleeping with to do this or do that or whatever. It just seemed to be every kind of rumor you could think. So, but I won that election against a really good guy. Another guy ran, but I won that election. And then so that we have 3-year terms. So the second time I ran unopposed, which was like, yes.
That's awesome.
I was so happy because then that meant I didn't have to campaign. Yeah. I didn't have to listen to those rumors because there were no rumors. Third time I ran, again, unopposed.
That's awesome.
Another good one. And then the last time I ran, I did run against somebody, but I won again. And then I did, once I decided to retire, I did not run again. Even though I could have, we've had retired presidents in the past. I just thought it was time for the younger generation to start stepping up and get some
good for you.
In there. So I was president for 12 years. Yeah. So pretty long time.
That's awesome. So what are some of the things that you're most proud of accomplishing during your time as president?
I think probably just having a female represented up there. And, it's funny because a lot of people, I always tell tradeswomen tend to not want to put themselves out there. And I always tell the tradeswomen the way we're going to get this message out about women being out and doing this is by doing interviews, letting somebody do an article about you, help do a video. So when I became president, it really opened up a lot of doors to me. And in a lot of ways, it was because I was a female. And it was very great for my local to be bringing me to a convention when I was the only union female president there. So, I mean, in ways it helped because they wanted to bring me. To pat themselves on the back, even though I did it on my own. But so I think it opened up a lot of doors as far as that goes. I mean, I got to go to so many conventions, and that kind of got me involved with, the UA. And I mean, it really just opened up a lot of doors for me. And I took advantage of it. A lot of people say, well, you only got to do that, or you're only on this job because you're a female, or you only got into the program because they needed females. And I always say, you know what, I'll take it. I get myself in GAT got me in the door, but that's not keeping me there, right? That's not keeping me having this successful career. So that's one of my piss me off points that I'll hear.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, because, most of the time women get laid off just because they are women, right? So like to have as much success as you've had, you obviously produce, because people aren't going to keep you around. Contractors don't keep people around who aren't making the money. So
no, they really don't. And again, do they need a female on their crew? Yeah, but there's other options. It's not like you are the only female.
Right.
I was lucky enough. I was with the same company. I was in the field for about 15 years. I was with the same company my whole 15 years.
That's great.
Apprenticeship all the way through my career. I had a really good rapport with them. They were great to me. They really did kind of help me. Even the owners of the company were always really great to me. So I have nothing but good things to say about them.
That's really great. That's really great. So, I mean, even though you are technically retired, I still think you work more than most people. You're still very active in leadership roles, including with ASSE. So can you tell us a little bit about that organization and the work you do?
Yes. So ASSE, American Society of Sanitary Engineering, their main thing that we advertise ourselves as we protect the health of the nation and prevention rather than cure. So they are involved with standards and professional qualifications. So on, for example, a backflow protection device protecting our potable water system, there will be an ASSE seal on it. Where it is verified that this is going to do what it's going to say. So standards are set for that. And then also on the professional qualification standards, meaning we train individuals for installation purposes, where they have to take a class, they get tested. So now we can say this individual has this backflow certification. They are qualified to do it the correct way. And that. So being on the board, we oversee all that. It's been a great experience. Again, there's two females on it, myself and an engineer out of Michigan. So there's two of us on there. And that has been, again, another really good experience, getting more involved with kind of the other side of the industry as far as training. And I was always big in training because I did spend 10 years as an instructor at our local. So that was always important to me. So it kind of fit right in with everything.
That's great. So have you found that being visible in those leadership roles has helped other women feel more confident joining the trades and taking leadership roles?
I think so. I really do. And it might not be, again, getting involved nationally. It's not just kind of the women in Cleveland seeing it, it's women everywhere. And I think I've done some speaking engagements here and that and workshops. And I really think that just seeing another female and kind of how I went about, how I got where I was, really kind of gives somebody a little bit of confidence to go after it. It's so nice because 12 years ago, I think I was the only female president in the UA. There was another one for a little bit, I think out of Minnesota.
Okay.
But now there's so many more women. Now when I go to like Tradeswomen Build Nations and see when they ask everybody who holds an elected position in their union to stand up, it just blows me away because, 25 years ago, there was just a handful, if any. So it really is. I really think it's changing. And I think conventions like that really help. When we bring the women together and they can kind of meet people and see people. Again, I think, as far as getting more women in the trades or helping the women who are in the trades become more successful, it's all about putting yourself out there and letting people know what has been accomplished or that you're doing this as a career.
That's so great.
You can't see it, you can't be it. The old saying, everybody says that, but it's so true. If you've never seen a female plumber, are you even going to think that could be a career for you?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And a lot of people don't even really realize that people are watching them and like taking inspiration from them. I'm sure you don't even realize how many other women you've inspired to do more and take on more leadership roles, because a lot of times people don't even tell you, right? And you find out years later. So yeah, that's really great. What advice would you give to women and girls who are thinking about pursuing a career in the trades?
First, I would say if anybody has access to like a readiness program or a pre-apprenticeship program, I would say definitely do that. For one reason, it's going to help you decide which trade's the best for you. Because each are a little bit different. If you are really afraid of heights, you're not going to want to be an iron worker.
Sure.
If you really can't stand this, you might want to, so it really does help kind of pinpoint, because there's so many trades people don't realize. There's in Cleveland, there's over 22 different trades with apprenticeship programs. So there's so many that people don't even think about.
Okay.
So I think finding the best fit for you as far as what the actual work is. And then I think everybody needs a little bit of like confidence booster. And I think that's what those pre-apprenticeships do, especially for a female. If there's a female instructor in that program, or they bring females in that will talk to you about the trades, I think that's a big boost of it too. So I think to go through a program like that, to make sure it's really what you want to do. I mean, we get apprentices all the time, male and female, that get in and, as much as you tell somebody, this is what it's like, this is what a construction like, this is what the weather's like in Cleveland, and you're going to be working all year round when it's 10 below down by the lake and 90 degrees in the summer. You're going to be working. It's dirty. It's physically demanding. There's no bathrooms, right? All those things that come into play. And no matter how much you try to tell somebody, they get in, they go through the program, they get in, and they're out on the job for 2 weeks, and they come back and they say, oh, no, this isn't for me.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's not what I thought it could be. And and again, how much can you talk to somebody and explain what it's like? It's pretty hard until you get them out there. So I think realizing what you're getting into, picking the best trade for you, and then getting involved with tradeswomen, get your support group in there and do it. As far as getting out on the job, I always tell my apprentices when I was teaching, when you start out, low key. Don't be running your mouth about everything. Don't try to be everybody's buddy. Don't tell your life stories to everybody. Just go in there and keep your mouth shut, your ears open, and learn. And give 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Given 100% too, there's still so much feedback from contractors and everything. People not showing up for work, people on
Mm-hmm.
their cell phones, nobody
Mm-hmm.
seems to care. So if you're going to make a commitment to get in one of the trades, you're going to spend 3 to 5 years in an apprenticeship. It takes 5 years to learn how to become a plumber.
Mm-hmm.
It's so involved, electricians, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to spend all that time, give it 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And become the best skilled tradesperson you can be, because then like we mentioned before, you're going to be working all the time.
Right.
If you're giving your contractor the bang for their buck, then you're going to be the one working. So I think it's kind of a combination of all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And, realize that it is going to be tough, male or female. It is going to be tough. It's just different.
Yeah, that's great advice. And we also see, kind of like in your case, a lot of people come into the trades as a second career. So they're a little bit older. And so I'm wondering, what advice would you give to people who are looking at another career, who might think, oh, I'm too old to get in the trades at this point? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there definitely is kind of a cutoff point where you're going to be more successful. For one thing, it's a very physically demanding job. So it's going to depend on the individual, right? Are you 40 years old, but you're still very active and you don't have any health issues? If you've already got bad knees or something, this is probably work out for you. And then, you don't want to be not be able to get enough years in the trade. If you're going to spend 5 years in an apprentice, you got to think of that. If you're going to spend 5 years in an apprentice and you're not going to become a journey level worker till you're 52 years old, you only have how many more years to work? What are you going to get out of your pension? So It's not a discouragement, because obviously it can be done, but you have to take into all those counts. Are you going to be able to get enough years in to those great pensions that it's going to be worth your while to do it? The wages are great, right? The healthcare is great. All that stuff is great. But are you going to be able to be in it long enough to get something out of it? But there's a lot of other options too. If you really learn the skilled trade, there's other avenues to go. You don't always have to be the one climbing up and down the ladder, carrying the pipe, up on a lift. There's other avenues to go, estimating. That we need a lot of people to do the new Rivet programs, the designing programs on computer and things like that. So there's become an instructor. There's so many other options to go. So it's not like, you can't spend maybe the last 5 years of your career doing something that isn't so physical. But that would be my only advice. I think it is. But I do agree that I think older individuals are very successful, and not really just older. Even we see a lot of apprentices coming into the program who have 2 years of college, 3 years of college, and realize, hey, that wasn't for me, or I don't want to take on that debt. So they're much more into it and ready to really realize that this really could be a great career. And that's the way I have to think of it. These really are, for me, it was a life-changing career. It really was. It really was. So I think I kind of look at all that, but I think it's really doable by anybody.
That's great. That's wonderful. So you've answered all the questions I could think of. Is there anything else you would like people in the audience to know?
I think back to tradeswomen and the support system, and when I talked about, meeting other tradeswomen and having an immediate connection, I think there's so much opportunity for tradeswomen out there. And again, are you getting the opportunities because you're female in a male-dominated trade? Maybe, but take advantage of it, right? Take advantage of it and run with it and do it. But and I think that's what when I talk to women, I say this could lead to so much more. Going to conventions, representing your union, going to tradeswomen conventions and being in a room with 5,000 other tradeswomen is just mind blowing, right? So there's so much opportunity, but somebody has to be willing to give the effort. I've been lucky enough to get involved with tradeswomen across the country, Tradeswomen Building Bridges, which is a grassroots organization that's trying to unite tradeswomen globally. I've traveled to London. I went to Spain. I had probably one of the greatest experiences of my life as we were asked to come to the BWI conference, which is the Building and Woodworkers International, which is kind of the international AFL-CIO.
Okay.
European side. And I did a panel there with all tradeswomen, but I was with a crane operator from the Ukraine, a painter from Australia,
Wow.
a laborer from Qatar. I mean, it was just an amazing experience.
Wow.
And I just spent over 14 days in the Philippines with the same group. 12
Wow.
of us went, and we went there and we trained 20 women on basic carpentry and some plumbing skills. Really is an amazing experience. And that's what I mean. All those doors opened up to me because I picked this as a career. You know what I mean? So there's so much more that you can do and to where to go from here that it really is, the sky is the limit. And pretty amazing experiences too.
Wow, that's really cool and so inspiring. And you're absolutely right. I mean, people who don't work in the trades, I think, do tend to have a very narrow idea of what the career path is, right? And you pointed out that there are so many different avenues that you could take. You could end up being an instructor. You could be in the office doing design and estimating. It's not all about just like brute force,
Right.
in the field. So I think that's a really, really important point that you made. And I appreciate you making that.
Yeah. I mean, now I do, part of what I work part-time is with a readiness program called Cleveland Builds. And that's kind of what I say when I go out there and I talk about it, that look at these careers as a long-term, where can it take you? Because there are so many other options to get out there and get into the careers and do. So it's funny, that 27 years ago when I got in, we're trying to recruit more people into the trades, and here we are, and I'm doing the same thing. And it always surprises me, even when I go to talk to high schools or guidance counselors or classrooms, anybody, how people, they're like, well, what do you mean these programs are out there and they don't cost anything, and you get college credits when you're going through it, and oh my gosh, you get those wages. And it just always surprises me because it seems like the apprenticeships are some big secret, and they're not.
Right.
Years ago, 50 years ago, were you getting in unless you knew somebody? Probably not. It's not like that now anymore, right? They're all registered, they're with the federal government, state apprenticeship programs. So it's so different. But that always blows me away that this just seems to be such a big surprise when we talk about the opportunities available.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when I first started running the Contractors Association in Milwaukee, it was a surprise to me. I was like, wait, what? Like, apprentices get trained, they get paid to get trained. They don't have to pay tuition, so they get this amazing education and a skilled trade, and a lot of times college credit. And they graduate without any debt. And a lot of apprentices are able to buy a home like as soon as they turn out because of all of the money they've accumulated during that apprenticeship. And yeah, it is the best kept secret in employment. And so that's why I do what I do, trying to make more people aware that college is not the only path to a sustainable career. And in fact, in a lot of cases, it's not a path to a sustainable career at all. So I'm really glad that you pointed that out.
Yeah. And one of the best things I used to like to watch and see is when I, start teaching a first year apprentice, and then by the time they're in their third year, you start seeing the new vehicles in the parking lot. They're getting married, and by the time they're in their fifth year, they're having kids and they have houses and everything. We've had apprentices who were basically homeless when they started.
Oh, wow.
And really, I mean, now own houses and turn their life around and have families. So really, when I say these are life-changing careers, they truly are life-changing careers.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, Doreen, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and share your wisdom with us.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Awesome.
Always willing to talk about it because somebody else is going to hear about it. And that's another little girl that's going to grow up and be a plumber.
Awesome. Great. Well, that's a wonderful, wonderful goal. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.